Hi Weasleys, this is Emily and you are watching The Burrow. So how can you start being creative again after a long stint of having a break from it or even thinking that you're not a creative person? Whether that's a couple weeks up to many years. I really think that people are born creative, and you can see that a lot if you have ever observed kids and how free they are with their creative energy and the things that they just create on a pretty much daily basis. And through the process of growing up, I really think that it's negative external forces that cause us to forget our own inborn talents. And I think that's really important to remember when you are setting out on a creative endeavor, that you are inherently creative, and the vast majority of having talent is just practice. It's not something most people are born with, being a master of any one given craft. So a lot of things can cause us to forget to be creative. Something just like our normal everyday life getting too busy, or maybe it's something as drastic as someone you cared about in your life telling you that you weren't creative or you weren't good enough or they didn't like the things that you tried to create. I think that all eventually amounts to a huge sense of fear, and that fear can be of failing, of being judged, of being disliked by your peers, and any number of things. It's really important to keep in mind when you start being creative again to just throw those ideas away. You really need to throw that fear away and throw those voices in your head telling you that you don't know what you're doing and what you create isn't good. Because really that doesn't matter, because you are inherently creative. No matter what your endeavor is, whether it's drawing, writing, dancing, pottery, programming, making videos, any number of things. And that's something I've been practicing a lot myself. I've recently embarked on a huge project, and I find myself every day that I'm sitting down to work on it hearing a little voice in my head telling me that isn't right and you don't know what you're doing. Someone's gonna point out that you don't know what you're doing. And for more on that subject, you can see Charlie's last video. My next tip is to start small. So if you really want to become an artist, I'm just going to talk mostly about art examples because that's my field, but this can be applied to whatever you would like to start doing. If you really want to become an artist or learn how to draw, I wouldn't advise you to set out creating your own like feature-length animated film if you've never really drawn seriously before, because you're just going to set yourself up to not complete the project. Just an example from my own life, when I had finished school, I had taken a little bit of a break from drawing after a while. I had literally drawn so much that the knuckles on the outside of my hand were bleeding because the skin had been worn down. And so I took a little bit of a break, and when I came back to drawing, it wasn't as easy as it had been before when I had been drawing every single day for many hours. So what I would do to sort of warm up my drawing muscles again was to stay inside my comfort zone. So when you're first starting out, I think that's really important, but as you gain more experience, it's much more important to go outside of your comfort zone so you learn and grow as a creative person. So for me, I found it really easy to look at photos of like fashion models and stuff like that on the internet, and I would just quickly sketch them without putting any pressure on myself to show the sketches to anyone or post them on my blog or anything. It was just an exercise, and I think taking that pressure off of yourself to kind of achieve something or create something that is going to like sell or impress somebody, I think really what it comes down to is what you need to do for yourself. So I recently read this book. It's called Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this book is basically about that subject. It is about creatively living for yourself and expressing yourself and kind of learning how to let go of all these hang-ups we develop as adults that we didn't have as children, kind of finding that path. And I actually listened to this on audiobook twice, and I've read the book almost twice, I think, and I really recommend this, but I would like to share some quotes with you guys. So this part is from the beginning of the book, and it's about having courage when you go down your creative path. So she says, "Dearest Fear, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together. I understand you'll be joining us because you always do. I acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do in my life and that you take your job seriously. Apparently, your job is to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting. And may I say, you are superb at your job. So by all means, keep doing your job if you feel you must. But I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused, and creativity will be doing its job, which is to remain stimulating and inspiring. There's plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us, so make yourself at home. But understand this. Creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognize and respect that you are part of this family, and so I will never exclude you from our activities, but still, your suggestions will never be followed. You're allowed to have a seat and you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You're not allowed to touch the road maps, you're not allowed to suggest detours, you're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. Dude, you're not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my dear old familiar friend, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. So basically what I've got for that is just to accept that no matter what you do that's new, you're going to be afraid of something probably. It's probably best to accept that and not let it control you. The first part of this book is about a poet named Jack Gilbert and the influence that he had on the author of this book. So I wanted to share a quote from him because I was really inspired by this part of the book. "We must risk delight," he wrote. "We must have the stubbornness to accept our gladness in the ruthless furnace of this world." He didn't so much teach them how to write, they said, but why? Because of delight. Live their most creative lives as a means of fighting back against the ruthless furnace of this world. Without bravery, he instructed, they would never be able to realize the vaulting scope of their own capacities. Without bravery, they would never know the world as richly as it longs to be known. Without bravery, their lives would remain small, far smaller than they probably wanted their lives to be. Do you have the courage? Do you have the courage to bring forth this work? The treasures that are hidden inside you are all hoping that you will say yes. So just to recap, if you're looking to start being creative again after a long time of feeling like you weren't being creative, take the pressure off of yourself. You don't have to make anything amazing. You don't have to become famous. You don't have to make anything that sells. You can just do something for yourself and that'll be more than good enough. Abandon fear. Don't let your fear in the driver's seat and start small. Again, don't put the pressure on yourself and do what you think is comfortable for you and then you can jump off from there. So I hope this video has helped you. If you guys have any experience with this topic, let me know in the comments down below or you can email us. All of the information will be in the description box down below. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
At what point do I qualify for that title? And I know coming maybe if you've been in the game for a while, like an especially long while, you sort of come to shed maybe that sort of insecurity. And particularly maybe you come to realize that the important thing is not the label so much as the work.